Section 9.6, Other Angles for a Circle. There are a couple theorems in this particular section, and there's really only two formulas that you need to know. Consider first this picture where you have two chords that are inside the circle. The measure of an angle formed by the two chords that intersect inside a circle is equal to half the sum of the measures of the intercepted arcs. Basically what we're saying is we're going to take the average of the arcs, add x and y together, divide by 2, and that will give us the measure of angle 1. Now, knowing the measure of angle 1, why do we know that this angle is the same? Let's do an example. So if I know that those two arcs, one of them, CD, is 120 in blue, and the other one, AB, is 160 in red, I'm looking to find out what the measure of angle 1 is. And once you know the measure of angle 1, you can find all the other angles that are on the inside of that circle. Using the formula to find the measure of angle 1, we add the two arcs together and then divide by 2. So the measure of angle 1 is... What happens though if we're given the measure of the angle and we're given the measure of one arc and it's still the two chords that are inside the circle and intersect? And I want to find the measure of the other arc, x. This is strictly algebra. You use the same formula that you had before, only this time you're going to be able to substitute in the measure of the angle. So using the formula, I have that the measure of angle 1 on the left, 140, is equal to 1/2 both of those two arcs added together. So in order to solve for x, what would we do? Solve it algebraically and find out what the measure of arc x is. Now the next theorem basically just has three different circumstances, but they're all basically the same formula. The measure of an angle that's formed by two secants drawn from the same point outside the circle is equal to half the difference of the measures of the intersected arcs. In other words, the bigger arc minus the smaller arc cut in half will give you the measure of angle 1. The angle's on the outside. Instead of adding the two arcs and dividing by 2, we're going to subtract the two arcs and divide by 2. Now this works when we have two secants drawn from the same exterior point. What happens if we have two tangents drawn from that exterior point? That's going to be exactly what you thought. It's still going to be the measure of angle 1 is 1/2 the difference of the two arcs. So x arc minus y arc gives you a total, divided by 2 will give you the measure of angle 1. This also works if you have a tangent and a secant. Same thing. X minus y divided by 2 gives you the measure of angle 1. When you set these problems up, use the formula and solve algebraically. You will have to write the formula, do the substitution, find the solution using algebra. So this basically sums it up. If the angles created are on the inside, you average the two arcs, and that's the measure of the angle. If you're talking about the angles on the outside, you subtract the two arcs and divide by 2 to find the measure of the angle.